And we are live. Hello, James.
Hello, Maria. I feel like I haven't seen you in years, but it's actually just been in virtual years, which is actually just weeks or months, I think, isn't it?
Actually, that's a really good point. Are virtual years longer than real years?
Does it feel like that sometimes? Yeah, anyway, how are you doing? Well, this is a new show we're doing. This is fun.
New slot, new time slot. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
It's a new show, which is great. And it's aimed at speakers this time. It's all about speakers, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe we should call this Lunch and Learn. We've called it Speaking Business TV, but maybe we should have it. This is our Lunch and Learn every week. Yeah. You kind of come here and join us every Thursday at 1:30 UK time. Don't know what it is, that's about 8:30 in New York if you're over there. It's a bit further in San Francisco. But wherever you're joining us from in the world, thank you. Thank you for kind of joining us and being with us on this very first episode of Speaking Business TV. So we have a pretty fun guest today, Maria, don't we?
We do, because I mean, virtual for some people has been dull, but there's nothing dull about doing virtual with this man. So best guy to start our season, I think.
Yeah, so the 80s band Scritti Politti lost a drummer, and the corporate world gained a team-building speaker in the rip-roaring music business bust-up back in the 80s. That's the short story. For the longer one about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, you might just have to book him. Dubbed the Rockstar Activator by Jamil Qureshi at one of Maria's courses a couple of years ago, Tom Morley has recently found international fame on Zoom, drumming out of time, getting people harmonizing on mute. Pivot? Some say he may have invented the word. Please welcome Mr. Tom Morley.
Hello. I'm going to give myself a round of applause. And maybe some laughter since it's lunchtime.
What an introduction. Wow, what a fantastic introduction. I hope you wrote it yourself there, Tom. So listen, I remember when we met, you carting around so many drums in the back of your van, hundreds of drums at a time, loading them, unloading them, bringing them into corporate events. How do you do that virtually?
Well, I still have equipment to transport, but it's in the form of wooden spoons. And I have to carry them all the way from the kitchen to my studio, which is up here, which, as you know, I've just run down to get them because I forgot to bring them. So I still can charge for transport and loading and uploading, but it's a little bit cheaper than it used to be. And I don't have to haunt motorway service stations, nor do we have to be in time. That's the whole kind of thing. I know you just wouldn't have thought it's possible before this pandemic, because the whole of history, the whole point of music has been able to play in time, and the more in time you're playing, the better, and the more in harmony, the better. And we're playing out of time and on mute. That's been my whole year.
Oh, out of time and on mute. That sounds like the title of a good book, actually. But
it would be. Yeah. And how I've done that, to be specific, instead of getting everybody to play these drums at a conference center, as you say, once I've unloaded them and got it all spaced out and made sure everyone's got elbow room, I just play music to people, quite funky music, copyright free, over the internet, so it can be played anywhere, it can be reproduced anywhere. I've already paid for it. And people play along on wooden spoons or buckets, or I know James has got a shaker right there. I'll play a little bit.
Yeah.
Just so you know the sort of thing.
I wish I'd gone and got my spoons.
Yeah, there'll be something on the desk, because you can just wave it around, pretend to be playing. It's miming like the 80s where I cut my musical teeth. Not that we were miming. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing. And I can say, okay, everybody, go and get yourself a hat. And then they all run off and get hats. And then I say, yeah, you're winning the prize there. Maria from Guildford. Wow, look at her go, And then, but the amazing thing is, right, it's all about permission. If I say Maria from Guildford, that makes you feel good. And Tony from New York says, I've got a better hat than that. So it sets up this kind of lovely team competition. And people do amazing things. I've had one, you know how you, in order to do a kind of family day at a conference, you'd have to plan it 3 months in advance. All the children would have to get letters from school. That you don't have to do that. The kids are waiting, right, watching their parents dancing around. And I said to one, I was playing a kind of Caribbean song, and I said to one lot, all right, so what would you do on holiday? And of course, most of them just started pretending to neck it. And then, but the kids came in with goggles, with masks, with and one little girl, I'll always remember this. She went and got some suntan lotion, and she started putting it on her arm. And then she started swimming right towards the camera. She said, "We'll be swimming." Again, you can't do this at a conference. It would take too long. And then her dad, who's this quite big guy, picked her up, and she's swimming right towards the screen, and he's moving her backwards and forwards. So I just said, all right, this was, some group of lawyers, 30 people on the screen. So I said, everybody, we're all doing the crawl, swim towards the camera. So within 2 minutes, that came from a piece of music, holiday theme, the creativity coming from the people themselves. All I have to do, which is all I've ever done really, is reintroduce people to their creativity and say, let's go, and then know what to do, know how to kind of tweak it a little bit so it turns into something.
Tom, I mean, you've got a pretty impressive setup there. It's a bit like being invited into your kind of private studio or a backstage party. Is that setup deliberate?
It is deliberate, and I've got different cameras like this. If people say, if I put this one on, people go, oh, it really is backstage. What that actually means is that all the other cameras have somehow triggered themselves off. And this is the one that's in the laptop, which is the brain of everything. This is all 4 of them. So I can be, and that's the kind of overhead. So if I'm just going to play a bit more music. I'll show you. I'm not checking my emails when I look away like that. I'm just
inquiring.
So if we're like that, right? And now I say, okay, everybody, get some sunglasses, wrap them on your head. We're turning into pop stars. I could just bring the lights down. Yeah. And then what that does is they say, look what that guy's doing. All right, I'm going to start using my filters. And then they start bringing out all the filters, all the Zoom backgrounds that they couldn't use in the board meeting. Excuse me, I'm going to go dark for a minute.
Well, that's the dance, the last dance of the night, when you know if you're going to have a lucky evening that evening.
Well, that's it. It's very pertinent that you should say that, because when I was a teenager, I always say to people, I'm an introvert, right? So you wouldn't think, to answer your question, this whole setup, if you look interesting, right, then people will come and talk to you as an introvert. So if you got a hat or you wear a silver jacket, people go, oh, I like it. Why aren't the wings on the back? Then you can kind of start talking.
Yeah.
So I was always, I used to go to teenage parties, and it's really boring. Everybody's glued to the wall. Someone needs to dance in the middle to get this going. Let me just turn that right down. And so I just thought, I'll do it. It will cost me, because I'm an introvert, and an extrovert should do it, but I'll do it. And then everybody would start dancing, to the point
that brings your title. You're the activator in that way as well. So when clients come to you, let's say maybe most of your work, obviously kind of corporate clients.
Yeah. When
they reach out to you, what is the challenge that they're looking to solve? What's the reason for them reaching out to you specifically?
They want to. I mean, now as they've always done, but now especially, they want to bond teams. Everyone says, I've got Zoom fatigue. What do you do if you've got Zoom fatigue? One thing is you get up, still be connected with your people on the screen. If you start swimming towards the screen, towards the camera, you feel less fatigued. If I say, who's got a hat in the house, or who's ever wanted to play air guitar, they come back with all sorts of stuff. So that, as far as what the clients want, that bonds them, because not only do they get all the neurochemistry working, I won't pretend to be I've got the certificate, but Maria says people won't be interested because I look like a rock star. But so I'd have to get a neurochemist in to tell you about it. But
White
so
lab jacket.
yeah, all the chemists, yeah, that's right. Lab jacket, pens. So all that changes, but they have this collective experience, and the chat afterwards or during, it's amazing. And so you get people saying, "I've never seen your daughter before, James. I never know that. Oh, she's so cute. You're the winner on air guitar, to someone else." So you not only do you get this visual representation, you get this kind of list of chat, which I always send them afterwards, of all the stuff so they bond in a way that they would if you just paid, how many thousands you pay to go to the Grange or the Grove or somewhere. So
Maria, do you think? I mean, obviously you've moved away from being the speaker bureau person, the kind of speaker trainer, speaker coach now. But when you were definitely in the bureau business, were you seeing this trend really start to come up in terms of that kind of team building? Because it often feels like team building kind of goes in waves in terms of interest for it. But are you seeing it coming up a bit more now?
For me, it was always totally consistent. It was like one of those evergreen topics, to be honest. And it's just, how do you do it differently? I think now more than ever, it's so important because the teams are remote. But the challenge will be, and actually this is the challenge for you, Tom, how do you do it? How do you make it work as hybrid when you've got a team that's in person with you and then you've got a team scattered virtually? How does this work hybrid?
Well, I have yet to do a lot of the visions in my head as hybrid, but I would love to do, an on-site conference where you're allowed 30, 50 people actually in the conference hall, because this is good for costs, which as well as creativity. So, but instead of all looking at me on the stage, I am actually on the stage in London, right? There's 50 of them. They are looking at, so maybe we have 10 cameras. So they're looking just like they'd be looking at their Zoom screens. So they're in their smaller teams, maybe 7 or something. So they see themselves performing just like they do on Zoom, as we are at the moment. I'm kind of leading it from the stage. We have mixers on site mixing all that on the screen around the world. Because we don't need to be in time, I have to emphasize this. All we have to do is see each other visually moving. And so if it's all at 130 beats per minute, right, standard dance rate, if someone's doing this and someone else is doing that, it doesn't matter because we're all out of time together. So it actually looks like very expensive choreography. So we can spin that around, around the whole globe. We can play 1 song, 2 songs, or we can be playing drums in London live in that venue, and that can be kind of broadcast out. People can be playing along with it. So that whole health and safety thing. I like to dance on tables, right? I can't do that anymore. And people won't do it. Say, let's all dance on the table. They won't do it. However, virtually, we can have a camera on them and transpose them so they're all dancing on tables in London. So, I mean, it wouldn't be difficult to do it with a green screen. So, and we can put cutlery there. They can kick it off, as if they're kicking it off the table, but they'll just be kicking it along the floor. So, I mean, that's just one option where we can go way beyond where we would have been, and we can do it cheaper, and we can do it with panache.
Yeah. I love that. I love that because also it's so unique and such an amazing experience. People aren't going to forget it. And I'm sure because you're so creative yourself, you're going to come up with so many different ideas. So you heard it here first. Let's find out who's going to do it and let us know. We'd love to see the video of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like technology has caught up with my imagination. I didn't think it was going to happen in my lifetime. So I'm glad I've got a few years left.
I think it'll be really fascinating. I feel that when everyone starts going back and doing hybrid events, I was talking to some school teachers the other day about it, and they said it's so much more work doing hybrid than just doing in person and just doing virtual. And we were having a kind of conversation. The way I think about it is it's almost like when you do it on stage. You're almost like a theatre actor. So you're using the stage, you're doing blocking, you're using your body in a certain kind of way. Yeah. When you're on this format, we've got this kind of, the smaller little thing and we're trying to make use of that and got multiple cameras. And then when it goes to hybrid, I'm almost thinking it's going to be a little bit like I Love Lucy, filmed in front of a live studio audience, where you have to, or what's that in the UK they have this Mrs. Brown's Boys, or in Ireland they have that TV show Mrs. Brown's Boys, where she's got to, or the actors got to really connect with this audience, the studio audience, but they've also doing it in terms of their timing for the laughs or whatever for the people that are watching behind the screen. So it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be interesting.
Well, so I think that the main thing, and this is where the costs will be transferred, hopefully they won't spend so much on the gala dinner because the people won't be there, or they'll only have to make 50 gala dinners. But what they will need to do is spend the money on the team on site who are doing all the mixing, doing all the camera angles. And these people do exist. I know in an earlier broadcast where you said that in the world of TV, some of those people can be a little bit kind of tired, let's get the job done. But I think there's a whole kind of new generation of filmmakers come out of being YouTubers and working. I mean, they're just kind of younger and they've got better equipment, basically, which they carry in their pockets. If there's a company I know called Stream, run by a guy called Dominic, and he only uses iPhones. He streams whole conferences, but he only uses a handheld camera, small, deliberately, just so people aren't kind of intimidated by huge bits of equipment pointing at them. So I think there's going to be an upsurge in creativity in how to go hybrid. And that's what I'm really looking for. I'm kind of looking for, putting my team together all the time of people I know who are kind of up for that. So I think that's just going to be exponential.
Excellent. Before your next question, James, I just want to say to anybody watching, listening in, we do welcome your questions and we will come to them at the end. We've got a few that we want to make sure we get through with Tom, so do put them in. Thank you for saying hi if you're here. And we look forward to your comments and questions. So sorry, James, back to you.
No, actually, it's nice because I know we've got some new people joining us here on the show as well. If this is the first time you've ever heard about Marie and I, welcome. This show is called Speaking Business TV. You are hopefully going to learn some things about professional speaking. We have a fabulous guest today, Tom Morley, who's absolutely wonderful. We've been learning about his creativity in terms of doing events, virtual, live, hybrid events. So, Tom, I wanted to ask from a kind of personal learning standpoint, you'll have, everything looks amazing, everything sounds amazing, but I'm sure you've made a few mistakes along the way, like all of us, as well as all the successes. So for anyone just getting into kind of on-site, online, or hybrid, is there maybe one piece of wisdom that you'd like to pass on for all the fellow speakers that are watching just now?
There is, and I would say this, anytime technology nicks your job in a way, or something turns up to change your job, don't, like I was a drummer in the 80s. Drum machines kind of put me out of business, and people said, well, go and be this sort of drummer or a session drummer. And I looked at my hands. I thought, do you know what? It's not about digital skill. It's about my outcome. I want to connect people. I want them to kind of make better decisions by being connected to their hearts and souls, and so that they can be wise in themselves. Now, that doesn't rely on me to move my sticks a little bit quicker. So the same happened with COVID. What was I good at? Getting people in rhythm. We're all out of time. What was I good at? Getting people to sing in harmony. We're all on mute. What was I good at? Taking people away to venues where they would let their guard down. They're all at home with the dog watching. But however, so all my digital skills were taken away, and this is my advice, by the way, because if your job gets taken away, or if you're just new to it, and it's all changing around you, just think, what is the outcome? Like I say, the outcome I want is I want people to be reconnected to their creativity during the session. So when they go away, they're still connected to their creativity and they make better decisions. Another outcome someone might want, well, I don't know. Let's see. I won't even guess. because that's the kind of outcome that I'm almost addicted to. That's what I go for. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's make better decisions. Yeah. So go for that. Think of the outcomes, not the skills. Your skills will be dismissed 5 times in your life if you're 20 now or 25.
As I knew we were coming on today, I was thinking about this, and I'm seeing a lot of companies just now where their employees are facing burnout, for good reasons as well, because frankly the company's growing so much. A lot of technology companies, their businesses are growing incredibly fast, but they maybe haven't increased their headcount. So each person's doing like 1.5 jobs, and that's in the health service. There's lots of different industries as well. And I was thinking, I thought, you know what? We should get people into buying a subscription to Tom Morley. So every month for all of their company-wide, everyone does this as a way, because I saw the other day, Morgan Stanley, the big bank, in order to encourage people actually to come back in the office, they're organizing concerts. Because it needs to be much more about just coming in and sitting at a desk and a computer for for a few hours. So I'm all thinking you should have, like, I don't know, activation as a service or something. I was thinking about it for you.
That's what I was talking to someone that's going to help me with my book, which is kind of written, but it needs to be organized. And at first it was just going to be Rockstar Activator, but she said it should be Activate Your Inner Rockstar. And exactly what you're describing is an experience that it's not just kind of getting it right on Zoom, saying the right things at the right time. Everybody talks about the water cooler moment, and it's that serendipity, those chance conversations, being at the gig. I remember a gig that it also ties into what I do. We were playing a gig in Berlin in Scritti, and there was a power cut. The lights went off. Everything went down except, of course, the drums. So I just carried on playing, and then the crowd set up this call and response chant, which we joined in with, and then the lights came on, all the amps came on, everybody started playing again. Now, there was people at the bar later said that was really clever, that power cut that you did. It's amazing the way it bonded everybody. Now, of course, we didn't organize it. It was purely chance, but that is what people are missing, and they're missing the inventiveness that we had and the relationship that we had with the audience and with ourselves as a group in order to carry on, rather than go, well, it's a bit shit here, isn't it? I wish we played somewhere else, which we had the option to do. Mm-hmm. People are missing those, excuse my language, by the way.
Yes, I was just about to say, beep.
All right. All right. So,
No, because you want to feel like you're in an event. It's an experience, and having you meant that kind of serendipity, things happening. And I mean, I know some great musicians who always, even though the set is exactly the same every single night, they make it feel like this is a one-off event. This is like an experience, because they're craft, because they're very good at what they do. Exactly.
Maria and I were talking about this earlier in the week about customization. Is what it kind of adds. Customization adds quality and that sense of it's just today. It's just us, just what we're doing together as a team. That conversation couldn't have happened if I hadn't been wearing this red hat and someone said, oh, that would go with my red jacket. All these chance things, you don't know what's going to happen. And that is what people are missing. And also, as my wife Dawn said, that because she works with business groups a lot, people are missing, and this is partly why they're burning out. They're missing that gap between meetings when they get up, they walk to another meeting, or they get up and go and get a cup of coffee all day. When you say, I'm not sure if it's Morgan Stanley, that one company was saying, what can they do? As a culture, they should do all that sort of stuff. They should not go from one meeting to another, click, click, click. It should, hopefully it will get built in soon. That you could, you're told, do not come back to the screen till you've gone and got something from your car, and you bring it back and you say, this was in the car. But, some sort of device like that, rather than go, I'll just go and stand over there and say I've been to the car. There have to be, really they're rituals, and you have to dedicate, the time to them.
Brilliant. So I want to sort of take some of those brilliant business ideas that are coming out from this with regards to your speaking business. So James mentioned having a subscription to Tom Morley. I think that's a really excellent idea, actually. Tell me about what's happened in the virtual world with regards to fees for you. Have you maintained your sort of in-person fees, or have you had to be a bit creative?
It's embarrassing. My fees have trebled this year, and it's through. Do you know what? I'm not exactly sure what it's through, but I think it's through my LinkedIn presence, because I don't have a regular Motivation Monday or anything like that. My social media presence is, I'll tell everybody what I'm doing all the time. If it's getting a flat tire on the motorway, people know about it. If it's doing 200 people drumming worldwide, people know about it. Now, there's something, I suppose, in a way, I'm doing that kind of water cooler thing online. People are getting to know all sorts of stuff about me. And then clients who, we're all trying to get meetings with clients when the world is working normally. They're all on LinkedIn all the time. So I've had people come. It was a pharmaceutical company from America, or I worked with 10 years ago. They said, "Tom, you're so busy. Have you got a slot for us?" And the week they were talking about, I looked at my diary. There's kind of tumbleweed blowing through it. And I said, "Yeah, I think I'll just fit you in." And they, I can tell you. I mean, they gave me 20 grand. So, and I was just working individually with people, and then putting a compilation video together. And it was well worth it for them. They said, "It's amazing. Everybody loves this video." I had a fantastic time because I was able to work with people individually. I didn't have to do it all in half an hour. And I like editing videos. So It's like everything came my way. Another, brilliant job I got was, someone said, "We don't want any interaction. We're fed up with interaction. We want to be entertained." So I went to Cirque du Soleil, and I said, "Could I have a contortionist?" And I didn't go to the organization, but I looked up those people through an agency I know. And so we did this whole Cirque du Soleil online for 20 minutes twice for a team, 2 teams. And do you know what? The most moving piece of feedback, there was all sorts of one-liners. Yeah, I do that every morning as my warm-up technique. But there was one person said, "Thank you, legal." It was a legal department. "Thank you, legal, for supporting the arts," because I made it clear these people, they were Cirque du Soleil, and they'd normally be, all spangled up, but here they were in the front room on their yoga mat doing this stuff, and it really touched people. And talk about customization. To look in someone's. I had another guy doing somersaults in his kitchen. He's running up the walls. And
but actually, Tom, what you're doing, actually, there's a heritage to it as well, going back to the 1930s. In the 1930s and 40s, a lot of the big companies around in the US, they would commission like the great composers and the great people who do a lot of the West End shows to do like mini musicals around the company. And it was all usually up in upstate New York, Woodstock, and where they had a lot of camps and things around there. And the deal was, they would bring like great composers of musicals. That composer would write a whole musical about the products and the company, and then it would be performed by the employees at their big annual event as well. So we're kind of doing something that's like happened like 100 years ago, but we're kind of putting you're putting that new spin on it now.
Yeah, and that now, exactly what I say, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it, because we have done that sometimes at a 2-day on-site conference, but now, and especially with that pharmaceutical thing I was talking about, if I can work individually with people and say, "Okay, what are you actually good at?" Because you get all sorts of things out of these people, and then they go, "Well, I played the saxophone. All right, play me a bit of sax. All right, we're going to mix that in." So just like they would do that, as you described, by getting everybody together on site, we can do that online over 2 months, and then that can be your anthem for the whole year. You could start every meeting with that anthem, and it wouldn't be, we got so-and-so, the writers, an anthem around our values. It would be, here we are, dancing, creating something where our values mean something to us, So
this is us. This is us.
Yeah, this is us, and it's undisputable. Here we go. Here's so-and-so. Here's so-and-so. I mean,
Maria,
do
you think speaking business TV? Do you think we should be getting our own music?
I wrote that down. I thought we should do that. We should get a lot of speakers, because some of them are very shy. We should get a lot of speakers together that you and I work with, because you and I work with lots of speakers. Get them all together and get Tom to create a great big video. We might
How
do
cool
that.
would that be? How cool would that be? Yeah,
really.
Wow.
And so that would be, when people say, "Can we see their speaker reel?" and they're there, kind of in front of the, curtain, saying the right things. You'd say, well, also, if you want to see them when they let their hair down, look in the top right, and
they're fantastic.
Just to remind people. Sorry, go on.
Sorry. Now, just to remind anybody listening in, we are very happy to take your questions very shortly. Yeah. We'll probably do one more question from James, and then we'll take some comments and questions from the audience. And do stay tuned to the very end, because we're bringing back the tool or tip of the week that everybody loved from this week in events. And we've got a very good tool for you later. So, James, I'm sure you've got another question for Tom.
Well, yeah. So you come from the music industry, where having artist managers is a thing. Like most artists have artist managers. I used to do that job myself. I was the consigliere that had to go in and break the bones if they needed to be broken. But today in the world of speaking, speakers, there's few of them that have speaker managers. So can you talk about like the benefit of actually having a manager for your speaking business?
The benefit for me, and I'll specifically use that 20 grand job. What they said, how much is it? And I think they asked me first, and I said, well, speak to my managers. And because, do you know what? I was so excited by the concept, I'd have done it for 5, to be honest. So they, and this is why I need a manager, because I said, speak to Michael Levy. Michael used to be a lawyer. So he said, leave it with me, Tom. And he said, what did you charge before? And this was kind of years ago. And there's 3 of us in America, in Chicago. We charged them 50 grand. He said, yeah, well, 20 seems about right. And I said, well, it's just me and I won't have to fly. Yeah, 20 sounds about right. So anyway, he went in with 20. They came back with 15. He said, no. They came back with 18. He said, no. They said, all right, then 20. Now, I would have given in at 5. So if you're asking what's the benefit of having a manager, it's to keep me out of the equation. And what is so wonderful is on an exploratory call, we can actually use this in a kind of good cop, bad cop way. And I can say, I'm so excited by the project. Do you know what? I would do it for free. It's so brilliant. But speak to my managers. And they go, 20 grand. They go, oh, we prefer to deal with Tom.
Yeah. But it's also interesting because, as you say, there's that relationship between the speaker and the manager, or the artist, the talent, and the manager as well. I know when I used to be a manager many years ago, sometimes many of the artists I worked with were absolutely fantastic business people. They had great business brains, but they wanted to put a little bit of a distance between themselves, because then they had to go in to deliver the creative for this particular thing, and they just wanted to have that little bit of separation so they could have more kind of clean hands in the relationship.
Yeah, and I think also the client prefers that, to be honest, and so it's absolutely perfect. We can have the big kind of vision talk together, and I say, talk to these people about the logistics and the money and the flights and So it's been the making of me, actually. Like I say, I've as a result, I've tripled my income so far this year. So
that is amazing. That's amazing. Now, you mentioned, as we start to finish, we're going to have some questions here. But before we get to questions, I want to also mention you've got a book. You mentioned a book that's coming out later. So tell us a little bit about the book you've got coming out.
Well, like I say, it only since yesterday, I think it's the title's changed to Activate Your Inner Rockstar rather than Rockstar Activator, which was kind of anecdotes from me, like that Berlin one, where if the lights go out, keep playing. There's a metaphor there, but they're all based around stories, real stories that have happened to me pretty much in the music business. So, and I'm there's all sorts of anecdotes that don't quite fit in that. And here's the business message. So I'm going to have them as a sort of sketchbook at the end, like a columnist. I might call that the Columnist Manifesto. So, and also I've had so many, I've kind of redesigned this book in my head about 10 times. So I've done all the covers. They're all really slick, these covers, where people say, oh, great, I must read that. I go, no, it's only the cover. So I'm going to have all them at the end as well. So if I can get it past the person who's helping.
Is it creativity is sometimes a very iterative process. It's an evolutionary process sometimes as well.
Yeah,
so we've got questions here for you, Maria.
Okay.
What fantastic questions have we got
glasses
today?
On. Let me. I have my glasses
I know. Thank
on.
you.
You can't do. So first of all, let's say hello to Scott MacArthur. Thank you very much for saying it's fabulous. He's saying you're looking fab, Tob. We have a LinkedIn user saying interesting new channel. Thank you. Without names, sadly, if you don't allow StreamYard to have your names, I won't know who you are. Anthony Steers, lovely to see you from PSA London. He says, sounds like the AV crews will be getting bigger to deliver hybrid properly. That makes sense, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Another LinkedIn user, this looks great, super, love people who say things like that. We've got another LinkedIn user, I'm doing that water cooler thing online. I like that. I talk to my clients about replacing water cooler conversations, and this is a great illustration of one approach. It's nice.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
And can I just say something about that? Because I saw someone else, another speaker talking about that, that you can put in a question into to start a water cooler conversation rather than just appear online and go, has anyone had any ideas? Start with one question. It hardly matters what it is, and then the water cooler moment starts. So
fantastic. And I hope I pronounce this right. Solveig Biddle, I think, is saying she's loving this. So that's wonderful. So no questions from the audience, but I think we've actually taken almost all the time chatting with you anyway, so we didn't give them any time. It's been amazing, Tom, but don't go away, because I think you might be interested, because I know you like tech now. I know you were resistant, but I know you love it now.
Yeah.
And I think James has got a bit of a techie tool for us, tool of the week.
Yeah, so every week what we're going to do is we're going to do our tool of the week. So Maria or I, and the guest is going to maybe share a tool, something that we're just kind of finding useful. And I wanted to share this one. This is a special of interest if you do, when your presentations, if you're a speaker, or even if you're not a professional speaker, you're just doing a lot of presentations and you're using things like PowerPoint, like Keynote a lot. One of the challenges that we sometimes find is, like, I've just now up here, I've got 3 screens in front of me, but I'm using a computer. I can only have so many screens here, but really what I want is I want a screen right in front of me, right where the camera is facing me just now. So what I do is I have an auto cue, usually like I have just now, just underneath this, and this allows me just to have all my notes and things. But the thing I could never try and work out is what I wanted to do is I wanted to actually have the notes from my PowerPoint up here, so I could see my PowerPoint. That's what gets shared with the audience, but up here I can see all my notes. And I looked at all these different tools and it was a nightmare trying to find the right one, but I finally found one and I'm going to share with you. It's called Avatron Air Display. Avatron Air Display, super easy. You connect it to your computer either via Wi-Fi, or I actually just use a cable because it makes it just a little bit easier. I just place that under my camera and I have my auto cue here as well, so I can read all of my notes. And I would say if you're a speaker that's doing a lot of presentations, so this week I think I'm giving 6 or 7 completely different presentations, and it's very hard to hold all that stuff in your head at the same time. So sometimes it's just quite nice to be able to have those little bullet points, notes for individual slides as well. So that's the tool. Definitely, I think it was like about $19. It was like very inexpensive. We'll put a link if you go to speakingbusiness.tv. speakingbusiness.tv, then you'll be able to get the link to this. It's called Avatron Air Display. So that's my little tool of the week. Hopefully that's useful to everyone.
I think Tom's got one too. Have you got one too, Tom?
Yeah.
I've got one. Yeah, I've been using a wooden spoon as a microphone, and getting other people to say, if you think of a bass line, just sing it in. Dun, 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 dun. But I've just got this in the post today. Look. That's the branding.
Doubler.
That's the. I thought, where's the floppy disk that I have to get the software off? I have to scan that, right? Moved it. But look, here's a microphone. I can just sing into that, sing a bass line or sing a drum part. Dun, 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 dun. And I hit this button and it comes back as a bass part. Now, I haven't downloaded the software yet, so it's still just going to be dun, 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 dun. But this is your opportunity as a TV show, which you now are to say, Tom, will you come back and see us again when you've actually recorded a bass line? And you can say,
yes.
Yeah. And I can say, yes.
Tom, I think in storytelling, we call that opening a loop. What you've just done there. There's a technique, opening a loop. So well done to you for a bit of storytelling there at the same time as well.
Yeah.
And tell me, how much was that, Tom? Because we like to share costs.
That was £256 and 11 pence.
Yeah, well, now that you're earning all the dosh, you can afford to have all these microphones and all this gear.
Doesn't even matter if it doesn't work. I'll just give it to a charity shop.
Super.
And a child can use it for karaoke, which is still good.
Perfect. Could you play us out so we can have a little bit of a drum beat to go out on?
Let's see. Well, this, like I say, it's all royalty free. Let's see where we are in the mix.
So meanwhile, we'll say see you next week, everybody.
See you next week, everyone. Have a great week. Thanks so much for joining us, and check out speakingbusiness.tv.
Oh, I thought this was going to come in with some lovely spiritual drums, but it's air guitar, which is even better.
Oh.
So
Even better, go for it.
A wooden spoon as air guitar.
Yo!